Pressure Points.
Dramatic pause. Sorry about that.
Pressure Points provided by Sukup and Sukup.com. Sukup and Sukup.com. Sukup Manufacturing. It's a farming and or dealer thing. And you can learn more at Sukup.com. What you got up your sleeve? Yeah.
Pressure Points. So I'm going to mix in a combination of some Vikings-related talkers from a Pressure Points perspective, along with some NFL-wide bits. And I do want to start here NFL-wide, in particular the San Francisco 49ers, PA. What kind of pressure are on the backs and shoulders of the San Francisco 49ers? They're trying to get healthy, of course. They're 4-4 in a competitive division in which Jonathan Gannon, Nick Rallis, the former Gopher, his defense, sacking Caleb Williams 6 times. They're 5-4, leading the division. Seahawks, I mean, it's tight, 4-5, the Seahawks at the bottom of the barrel. But the key to this is all that money, all the weapons. They went to the Super Bowl last year, and we see from time to time teams will have Super Bowl hangovers or tough seasons the following year. But the key for the Niners is they are all in. They're all in on cap space. They're all in on trying to hope that trying to effort and will Purdy to be that guy on a very small dime so they can afford the Debos and the Trent Williams and all of that. At 4-4, they're rolling out of the bye. They are at Tampa, and then they host the Seahawks. But then they're at Lambeau and at Buffalo. And so from my standpoint... Pressure points. Coming out of the bye, the pressure is on the Niners to shake off the first 8 games and the mediocre record and just start mashing on people and get back to the top of the West.
Right. Is the Brandon Ayuk injury, is that for the season, or that's a season-ending injury, right? It's not one of those short-term clips. I thought he had, the surgeon, this is as a few days ago, that Ayuk actually can miss the beginning of 2025. Oh, geez. Okay.
So that's how bad it's been.
Well, you have that, and he's not a one. Okay. So like when Debo and or Kittle and or McCaffrey are out, Ayuk as the identifying figure and a number one offense. He's high end, but he's not a true one. So they dealt with that a little bit with Debo injuries. So now, off this bye, it's and McCaffrey on the mend. Jordan Mason is somebody they're sweating right now, injury wise, at least just a little bit. I just wonder if they naturally have that human nature gets to win vibe to them. And like we can push that metaphorical, that proverbial button at any time. And watch out, we're just going to go steamrolling through teams. I don't think this Niners team is that team. I don't think their offensive line is capable of sustaining and powerhousing the way it has in the past. And you mentioned that cap situation, where if you look. I haven't looked deeply into the 49ers situation, but you just know when the players get the money that they've gotten, and you have a quarterback who's going to require an exponential amount of money, an extravagant amount of money, eventually you got to pay that proverbial piper. So their situation is it's coming at them fast. The New Orleans Saints situation is here. I mean, I looked at that the other day. They have no way out of just salary cap situations they've put themselves in, feeling they could make a run with certain players over the last 5 years. So like the Saints, I expect the Saints to be bad for quite some time. The Niners eventually are going to have to pay this proverbial piper, and because they won't be able to keep them all. And I'm just curious to see who leaves, when, and why. Pressure points.
Just bear with me, because not all of these are life and death, win or lose, hottest or biggest opinion on the line. Pressure points. Thank you, Sukup.
Right.
Is there pressure on TJ Hawkinson because of this guy?
2nd and 11 from the Colts 14. Jones, the single set. Addison in motion to the right. Play action from under center. Darnold to the end zone. Touchdown! Josh Oliver with a touchdown to stretch the lead to 2010.
Is there pressure on Hawkinson?
Pressure points.
Because Josh Oliver rolled out there, went 5 for 58 and a touchdown under the bright lights in prime time. The career high in catches for Josh Oliver. And you'll hear some audio later on in the show, and I think I have that. But Josh Oliver via Wes Phillips, the best run-blocking tight end in the NFL. How about Josh Oliver bouncing just out of nowhere in primetime where everyone's wondering how Hawkinson is going to look, and Oliver steals the show. Hawkinson, there's pressure on him because of Josh Oliver.
Oliver catching strays with bullets of love. And I've heard that before about Josh, not only from those here, but those on other teams. I think Stefanski may have said it to me at the joint practices. It's Oliver has one of those jobs that you don't really exactly know what he's doing at a very high level, unless you watch it back and you see Akers or Jones go for 12, 13, or 20, where clearly it looks like it might have been a 5. Secondly, Oliver, he's going to start getting checked better than he's been checked the last 2. It's the gotcha play portion of Kevin O'Connell's playbook. It eventually is going to shrink to only like 48 of them, where it's voluminous, and there probably are 75. And what I mean is I'm going to hold on to this thing because I see the way your defense is flowing until I absolutely positively need to have it, and then I'm going to get you. Because when you watch, say, Darnold boot right, and like on the Jefferson pass, wow. I mean, the Jefferson pass, the way they constructed that thing, there were 9 members of the Indianapolis Colts who just went darting to number 18.
Yeah.
Well, he throws all the way across the field, and they got back there quickly because that thing was designed to get to the house. And I think it ended up getting 21. And by the way, that was a 3rd down call. Holy cow. Pretty sure that was on 3rd down. Wow. But Oliver, the sneak appeal to Josh Oliver just has to end sooner or later because he's so wide open pretty much with everything he catches. But I think it was the Rams game where he was covered wonderfully, and it might have been down by the 5, and he had to get athletic to bring the ball in with the vertical and the arms outstretched and the good hands. So he has that to him. And finally on this is with Cam Robinson. I fully believe, because David Quessenberry is capable of holding down the left tackle spot, maybe in short patches.
Right.
All right. So we're talking
like 3 games.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, because he's played more before, and he's not as good as Cam. Okay. That's with all due respect, specifically with the size and everything. But I'm just reading between the lines with O'Connell, and I think I brought it up to him yesterday when we did the 11 at TCO Studios. Is I can't remember how I framed it up, but I mean, if you wait this long for TJ Hawkinson, well, you don't want to have to constantly attach a tight end to a left tackle in certain situations.
Exactly.
I mean, we've been waiting for this guy to complement 3 to complement 18 to complement 33, and so on and so on and so on. And 87's a big part of that mix. Played about half the game. I think discretion was the better part of valor there. And I would imagine he'll probably play a little more or about the same in this game coming up. But, I think that from a tight end standpoint, what you can do with Josh Oliver. But you don't exactly know through 10 games what you can get from that backup tackle. But you do know through 10 games, no matter, what the knees, the hips, or whatever, my man's battle tested. I mean, Cam Robinson, when you're that size, to play as many games as he's played, you're battle tested, and you play through injuries. It just has to be the situation with him, because he's been on the injury report a lot, like questionables, but he's played. So that all factors into the Josh Oliver situation, and why, to a certain extent, he's getting as open as he is. Well, Sherfield Sr., too. I mean, there's like a separate gotcha section in Kevin O'Connell's playbook.
Do you think he was just showing off? I mean, on that first drive, PA, I'm pretty sure that Oliver had a catch, Sherfield had a catch, Brandon Powell moving the chains.
Right.
It was almost like, under the bright lights that Jefferson's going to be there.
Right.
But until we get to that point, how would you like a 9-yard Trent Sherfield pass?
Well,
how would you love a third down conversion to Brandon Powell?
Yeah. O'Connell, he's up to something, and I don't know how to figure it out, and I don't know how to figure out how to, like, even off the microphone, ask him what he's up to, because he might not be up to anything. But the last couple of games, Powell and Sherfield have come in before Jalen Nailor.
Yeah.
Now, Nailor had those 3 touchdowns. Jalen's taken a couple of L's. We had the fill-in for Powell on the punt where he tried to catch it above his helmet. It was a muff. It was negative. And then if he catches that pass at the 7-yard line at SoFi, the Vikings are going to beat the LA Rams.
It's a touchdown.
Yeah, right. So, but he dropped it, and he felt awful about it. And Jalen's a sweet kid, and he's still young in his career, but he has 4 touchdowns. So O'Connell's up to something with this personnel bit that he just started doing with Powell and or Sherfield at all parts of the field. And then later in the game, it's like you Powell and Sherfield Sr. for show and you Nailor for dough because Jalen was wide open.
Yep.
So Kevin just has a batch of gotchas that okay, well, you stop that. Now I'm going to go to Oliver. Okay, well, you stop that. Now I'm going to Sherfield Sr. Okay, you figured that out. Now I'm going to Nailor. It's this offense has a lot of skill.
No, it absolutely does. And you got me. Last thing on this, when we're talking about Oliver, I think you hit on the massive A topic. Hawkinson being able to run his routes, be that potential field stretching tight end that we want him to be.
Mm-hmm.
But after the injury at SoFi, and it's a Monday, a little mini bye, we haven't thought of or fathomed Cam Robinson yet.
Yeah.
We talked about kind of how handcuffed this offense would be. How significant would they have to change things to accommodate a Quesenberry, right? And the fact, it's Aaron Jones has to be on the field at all times because it's the pass protection. Are you putting Oliver in a spot where he basically lives on the hip of Quesenberry? They get Cam Robinson. We watched the Sunday night game, and we can kind of, I think, just completely scratch that from a list of talkers as they were able to open it up on Sunday night. Wow. Is there pressure, however, PA, pressure points, thank you, Souk Up Manufacturing. Is there pressure on the offense in totality now with the kicker and the long snapper situation, whether it's efficiency, it's finishing drives? In that game on Sunday night, you convert a 4th and short right around midfield. You end up in a 4th and 3. And the confidence that the head coach had in his kicker to say, you know what, we're going to roll out the kicker who's been perfect, and we're going to let him swing one from 53. And there has to be, if KO's being completely honest about it, he probably is counting those points in his head before Reichert even takes the kick. And so now that is out of the mix. Now it is John Parker Romo. It is McQuaid. And so there's naturally pressure on Daniels and those individuals themselves. Matt Daniels, the special teams coordinator, you hear from him later on as well. There's pressure on those guys to make that chemistry work, to make that situation solid. I like the way that you said it. McQuaid's snapped 1,000 balls. He's going to be okay. What's Parker Romo going to be looking like?
Right.
So is there pressure on the offense, pressure on O'Connell to either not to completely abandon his instincts in that part of the field, to adjust or make different decisions in spots where if it is going to be a 50-yard field goal and it's 4th and 4 or shorter, we probably will go for that in this case, where we wouldn't have with Reichert. You know what I mean? Is there pressure on the offense to handle their business a little more smoothly or change some decision-making nuances of the offense in lieu of Reichert being on IR?
Yeah, I mean, pressure is a strong word. Yeah, I mean, it's an accurate word, but I just don't think, with all due respect, it applies there.
Okay.
In this game. Okay, and here's what I mean. There's an opportunity. Okay, this is opportunity. It's serendipity, hopefully, something positive transpiring out of a negative. So maybe there's a serendipitous nature to it, but I don't think it can be disputed. There is an opportunity here to spread wings. John Parker Romo never has kicked. He's never kicked in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's never kicked in a regular season game. I mean, I just can't see every 4th and 3, 4th and 4, or whatever at that weird spot of the field, like you said. I can't see them rolling the kicker out with no experience the way they would the Alabama rookie or Greg Joseph.
Right.
So there's opportunity. And specifically against this defense that it again, there are some things that have astounded me with the game calling depth charts this year and preparing them. And this is a new one. Like back for the Jets game. I mean, it was so sad putting it together before the London game. I mean, and you got these wonderful players like Quinnen Williams, and there were a handful of wonderful players. And then you get it, you get their stuff ready, how many games they've played, sacks, touchdowns, fumble recoveries, all that. And then for a handful of them, you'd be like, what happened? None of them have played in playoff games. It's like, let me see how many. Wow, Quinnen Williams has played 68 games as a badass. Never played in the playoffs. It's so sad. Well, with these Jags, I mean, I got it right here for you. Hold on.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't imagine, and that's you could feel that vibe with Frangie too, but go on. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's see. Ronald Darby, Super Bowl winner.
Yep.
Nickel corner, Jerry and Jones, 3rd round, Florida State. Trayvon Walker, 1st overall pick in the 2022 draft. Josh Hines Allen, 7th overall pick in the 2019 draft. Devin Lloyd, 27th overall in the 2022 draft. Tyson Campbell, 2nd round, 2021. He's a corner from Georgia.
Man, they've been trying to fit ever since they let Jalen Ramsey go. I mean, they've just been putting everything. They had Miles Jack. Remember him?
Yeah.
The UCLA cat, high pick.
Yeah.
They had him on the team for a while, I believe.
Yeah. So that's just defensively. Trevor Lawrence, 1st overall pick, 2021 draft. I haven't done much of their offense yet, but ETN, I think, was taken relatively high. Bigsby's a 3rd round pick from a couple of years ago. Brian Thomas Jr., 23rd overall pick, most recent draft.
Yep.
I mean,
LSU.
Yeah, Brenton Strange, one of the tight ends they use. Their best tight end's Evan Ingram. He's having a good year. But Brenton Strange.
Paid a ton of money for Evan, too.
2nd round pick, 2023 from Penn State. The offensive line, Anton Harrison, 27th overall pick, 2023 draft. He's their right tackle. Walker Little, 2nd round pick, 2021. I mean, they have 1st and 2nd and low 3rd round picks all over the place on this thing, and they just can't win. A team that absolutely needs to find a victory is the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're at Chicago tomorrow night, and head coach Chris Finch joins 9 to noon around the corner on KFAN.
The Fan, along with 2 men in a junk truck, they want to give you a chance to put $1,000 in your hand with the National Cash Contest. The keyword is deposit. Enter that keyword. You could deposit the keyword deposit, actually, at KFAN.com. And you might win $1,000. The keyword is deposit, KFAN.com.
Right back to Dante. He'll work against the rookie. Tijon Salam. Straightaway 3 is good. Wolves starting to knock down some triples. 7 of 13 from deep. Charlotte just 2 of 12. People thought LaMelo should have been the number 1 pick. No doubt the Wolves made the right choice. Left side and pull-up 3. Got it. His 4th of the night. He's got 16 here in the first half. 5 of 8 shooting. He's been efficient.
Chris Finch, coach for the Minnesota Timberwolves, will be joining us shortly. I like these coaches' covenants that we have established 9 to noon over the course of the years. The change to doing Kevin O'Connell with X's and O's live from like 11 to 11:30, so gracious with his time. That's been one of my all-time favorites. Win or lose, whether they're getting beaten by somebody or they're winning X amount in a row, to be able to get to the Vikings facility, sit down with the head coach for about a half hour and have coaching conversation. I thoroughly enjoy that. The relationship with Chris Finch started at the Great Minnesota Get Together a few summers ago, where they brought him out, and Finchie and I are about the same age. We both grew up loving the NBA. We're both from the East Coast. Chris and I hit it off immediately. It's great having him weekly. Likewise for John Hines, coach of the Minnesota Wild, and PJ Fleck each and every Monday, 9 to noon. And joining us now is Chris Finch, head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Chris, are you there?
I am here.
It's Paul Allen.
How are you?
I'm quite well. It's Paul Allen, KFAN, wishing you a happy birthday.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Happy birthday there, Finchy. Oh, 55 years of age today. What have been your fondest memories of your first 55 years, head coach of the T-Wolves?
It's been fun, and the best years have been my years here in Minneapolis for sure. Living the dream, got a really good team, a great city, and a great crowd behind us every night. Can't ask for more. Anything
big on the entertainment docket for your birthday? Like you guys fly to Chicago today, I would imagine, or are you already there?
Yeah, well, you ever sat at the corner table at Gibson's, had a nice steak?
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's going to be nice. and it's on the coach, it's on the assistants, right? Or it's on Mr. Taylor, or would it be Lori or A-Rod? But it's on somebody else, right?
I don't know. Maybe, I think might be on Tim Connolly tonight.
I've been to Gibson's one time, and I've been to Chicago for Vikings games 20-ish some odd times, 20 whatever times. I've been to Gibson's one time. It has the feel with a corner table. Like there should be an old school phone on the table, like somebody with a cigar and an old school Tom Landry chapeau or style of hat, and then like a phone on the table. It has a wonderful Chicago feel. But we love you, man, and a very happy birthday to you, Chris Finch. His inclusion 9 to noon is provided by Second Harvest Heartland and 2harvest.org. It must have been nice to get one like Monday, the way it developed, because you got to empty the bench, right? And a good morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Every game has been so tight, except for, that game in terms of getting young guys playing time while we're trying to figure out some other parts of our rotation. But the best part about Monday was for 48 minutes, we saw our defensive personality. We've seen it in glimpses. We haven't seen it in the measure that we needed to see it coming into the season like we saw it all of last year. So it was good to get that edge back, and we're just better. That's got to be our identity, and our guys recognize that. So now we got to continue to play that way, and I'm really pleased with our offense. I'm pleased with the connectivity of our offense and the shots we're generating, and generally that lags a little behind. We haven't made shots like I've liked, but those will come because we're really getting a lot of good ones. But it's the defense that's been hit and miss, and that's not us.
Did the San Antonio loss get to you? And the reason I bring it up that way, Chris, is didn't you guys drop one down there early last year? And obviously it wasn't so demoralizing. It kept you from the Western Conference Finals. But did that loss get to you?
Oh God, yeah, that one bothered me. It was a hard game. Listen, we don't make excuses. So we needed to win that game. We need to play better, but we didn't have a lot in the tank. But I just didn't kind of like our overall application of what we were trying to do. It wasn't that we were trying to do things and we kind of ran out of gas, as you do sometimes in back-to-backs. It was like we didn't even really try, and that bothered me. The effort was there in some things, but it wasn't there with the level it needed to when you face that type of adversity, And I like those games early in the season because you learn a lot about yourself, and we had to look ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, what are we doing here? And that's a much improved San Antonio team. Obviously, Wemby's in his second year, and it's better. And they got Chris Paul, who is going to keep it all together, and Harrison Barnes, a great vet, and some good young talent that's still figuring it out but can play well, and we didn't really answer the bell, and that bothered me for sure. Well, ruined my Sunday, I can tell you that.
Well, don't let it ruin your birthday at Gibson's with the phone, okay? After the Hornets game, you said, quote, feels like that desire to win our one-on-one battles is not where it needs to be, and it hasn't consistently been, end quote. Now, And any chance, and this may be dumb, but I want to fire it anyway. Any chance, because you guys made it so far last year, human nature is winning, and some think they can push a button and get back to the conference finals like it's that easy?
Sure. I think that's a large part of it, and as much as we talked about it and guarded against it, I think it's one of those things that a team that's, winning, and there's habits that you have to maintain, and that's the boring and the hard part of it all. We have, as we build this thing up or try to build it up, these are the lessons that we need to learn. It's like a lot of things in life. You can tell people, hey, don't touch that hot stove, don't touch that hot stove, and then you watch them touch the hot stove. Those are frustrating, but we'll see now. We have to do the same in Chicago. We have to do the same against Portland, and we have to do the same, and that's what we have to do now. So it can't be just a one-time thing.
When Conley is going great guns with his role this year, what do you know it can or will look like? He's always going to play a great floor game. He's always going to make sure the team's organized and runs well, and he's always going to try to find shots for his teammates. He's best when he's aggressive for himself, looking to score. What he's figuring out right now is that we have a lot of other playmakers on the floor. Julius, Dante, Nikhil, these guys are making plays at a high level right now. And, even Jaden, the ball's in his hands more to make more plays. So he doesn't have to be the primary playmaker every time down. And as a result, he can be a bit more aggressive. And we're starting to see that. It happens to coincide with some of our best periods of play. 2 years ago when we first got him, we needed him to score more. Once he figured that out, we finished the season, on quite the uptick. Last year, once we figured out our two big chemistry, and he kind of took a back seat through that process. In the second half of the season, he really upped his scoring heading into the playoffs. And again, he was a huge part of it. So it's he has this natural calibration of what the team needs, which is exactly what you want in your veteran player, and also the skill and ability to switch and do something different, like score more. And that's huge for us because it really helps us. McDaniels probably never will be a high-volume rebounder because he checks so many guys on the perimeter, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we do need him to up his rebounding. There's no doubt about it. But, a lot of times he's, either, guarding the guys that are further away from the basket or, or the guy who's actually shot the ball. That does hurt his rebounding.
Should Jaden be above a block and a steal a game, given his tenacity and length?
Yeah, I would think so. He is one of our best rim protectors. But again, he's usually guarding guys that are at the top of the floor,
right?
Less so guys that are at the bottom of the floor and help positions. But yeah, he definitely has the tools to fill all the stats on both sides of the ball. When you look at his stat line, he should definitely fill out all the columns.
What Julius Randle? What do you need defensively from him? Because his playmaking is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean his on-ball competitiveness and contain has been very high level. It's grown in leaps and bounds since we last worked together. Just continue to try to master our schemes. It's different, he's even subtle defenses differently. I'm sure your football people will tell you this too, Paul. Even subtle differences on a defensive scheme are always not so easy to pull off. If you're so used to doing something, and if one guy's zigging while everyone else is zagging on defense, it looks pretty bad or can expose you. So just continue to learn our stuff. He's getting more and more comfortable with it every day. We got to find a defensive chemistry and a defensive scheme for some of the blended lineups that he plays with. First unit defense is pretty standard for us, but as we start evolving lineups, they're going to have different defensive schemes. That just takes a little while. He's going to be at the heart of that along with Nas.
The Bulls are next, Chris. That's tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I wrote it this way, because I've said it before and I think it made you chuckle one time. So let's do it like this. The Bulls are next out there. And all I can think about, Chris, is the demise of Kobe White has been greatly exaggerated. He was terrible for a little while, and he was. But now, he's just scoring left and right. He got you guys for 5 threes a game last season. Kobe White, yep. He has your attention, doesn't he? Oh,
for sure. You've long been a fan. I think you champion Kobe White probably more than anyone else in the league, and I would say rightfully so. I knew this question was coming this morning because of your affinity for him.
Thank you.
As a player. He might be one of the most underrated, if not the most underrated, backcourt player in the league. I just think, he's really gotten better and better and better, and now he's just an outright threat. He's got our number. And he's not only had our number, he's been the reason that they've been able to turn games around on us. He's gotten hot to flip the momentum.
How is Josh Giddey fitting in with the Bulls?
He's fitting in great. They have a system where they're playing a little more up tempo. He's driving that. They're spreading the floor, so it allows him to get to the paint where he's really good as a finisher and playmaker. He's a point guard. He's always been a point guard, and we probably never saw the best version of him in Oklahoma City because the ball was in Shea's hands so much.
Yep.
So this is be a good landing spot for him. It's going to be one of those things where when it happened, he I don't know this. I'm just, kind of totally guessing here. But when it happened, I'm sure he was maybe a little bummed that he was leaving OKC and what they had built there, and he was a part of that for sure. But this is going to probably launch him into the next phase of his career because he's going to be the best version of himself, which is playing in space, playing up tempo with the ball in his hands the majority of the time.
All right, last one here for Chris Finch, celebrating his 55th birthday today. You have some cup nights coming up, and that in-season tournament thing begins soon. Is it still $500,000 per player for whichever team wins it?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I thought it was $1 million per player.
Oh, geez.
But I'm not sure. Yeah.
What about coaches?
Again, I don't know what that is. Honestly, I know last year there was I think that the staff also divided one share.
Yeah.
So however you chose to do that. So.
Well, if it's still in Vegas and it's $500,000 or $1 million a player for the winning team, the coaches can't get certificates for a $7.99 buffet or steak and lobster at Binion's. It just doesn't work that way. You guys work too hard. Lastly on that. Yeah. Do these games, these cup games, the in-season tournament, do they have a different feel than normal regular season games? Because when I watched the Lakers in Indiana last year, that felt like a conference final game.
Yeah, they do. And all credit to the league. I didn't think that the cup, first of all, I did think the cup would be an interesting success. I thought people would take interest in it. I thought it would add some intrigue and provide, a different platform for the league early on. So, but I didn't think that the players would respond as well to it as they, I thought that they would be more like regular season kind of every night, kind of a mentality and approach, but they really did. They took it as elimination games. They played them all as elimination games, whether they were group games or not, because the groups are so small. Every result matters. And the other thing that's interesting about the Cup is it happens early in the season while all these teams are still trying to figure out who they are. Everybody still thinks they're good. Everybody thinks that they still have a chance to do something, whether it be in the regular season or the Cup. So it's kind of that young part of the season, that innocent part of the season. It's really perfectly placed.
You're terrific at what you do. I'm very grateful that you come on the show weekly and for our friendship. Happy birthday, Chris. Safe travels.
I appreciate you having me on. Thanks, PA. Take care.
Yep. See you about Chris Finch, coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, Chris is on the board of directors for Second Harvest Heartland. You can read up on it, twoharvest.org. Twoharvest.org, holiday season, tens of thousands in need of meals. You know what? Maybe in honor as a birthday gift. If you want to give Chris Finch a birthday gift, forget sending a thank you card with $5 in it to whatever the address is of the offices for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Go to twoharvest.org and help them. That's what Chris would want you to do. Twoharvest.org and give a little if you have it in you. And help Chris celebrate his birthday. He's on the board of directors there. But help others, many, eat. Twoharvest.org if you're interested. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. It is News to Nord. And News to Nord is brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. Poker, blackjack, and table games all year round. Feeling the felt, having sips at Chips, and tipping Derek Allen. You might actually be working today. And I would just suggest you don't go to the website for that. Just show up and see if Derek's there and tell him we said hello 9 to noon.
Ain't you sweet?
CanterburyPark.com for all that. Unfortunately, I wish I could be sweeter in regard to the hockey team because Zach Bogosian got it rolling early in the first period last night, about 7.5 minutes in for the Wild in the 1-0 lead, but the Kings tied it. And then on the power play, it was this guy.
Fiala, that thing pinballed around just away from LaFerrier. Now a drive by Fiala, and he scores. The Wild never able to reset, and Kevin Fiala, the former Wild winger, has haunted this team a bunch the last couple of years, and he makes it 2-1 LA.
Man, Fiala got us, and it was a 5-1 final, so if I'm doing math, effectively, Fiala got the game-winning goal in the first period on the power play against the Minnesota Wild, so kind of, you know, after those vibes, it's like 10 of 11 games they've gotten points. They only lost a weird one at Philly earlier in the season. Otherwise, they haven't lost in regulation. Well, they did last night. And so it was a tough, lopsided loss. Tough night for Gus Bus, who otherwise has been playing fantastic. But now they got to go out west, and it's San Jose, and it's the Shark Tank. That's tomorrow. And then I think it's back-to-back in Anaheim. So busy couple of days. We're going to have Russo on from the West Coast tomorrow at about 11:35, 11:40-ish.
Sweet.
So we'll get his take on it, of course, but an opportunity for them to go out west, bounce back from that loss, and pick up some points on the Sharks and the Ducks.
Well, here's something nobody's ever heard, but it's factual in this situation. The more things change, the more they stay the same. It's just the ways and means become rearranged. I always love that one. And here's what I mean. From a fan standpoint, it's like, you know, I was reading some stuff about the Wild this morning. I didn't watch much of the game last night. And I mean, they got blitzed. They're up 1-0. They got blitzed 5-0. And you got your former player, your former, one of the favorites of the fans, Fiala. Yeah. You got him looking as good as he did. But then when I say the more things change, the more they stay the same. It's just the ways and means become rearranged. I'm a week or 2 weeks removed from having a conversation with Wild head coach John Hines on these airwaves, bragging about the power play. Well, now I think the not frequency but potency of the power play has gone a little kaput at this moment.
Yeah.
Oh man, the Wild Nation's loud about that right now, talking about changes and this guy at the point, and it's the more things change, the more they stay the same. It's no matter how good you are, it's not going to take much of a flick, of just a little flick, to get back to something that is deeply rooted in the hearts of the state of hockey, scoring on the power play. Either that or just this generation of humanity is super loud, just super, super loud, because it's not as bad as people make it seem, and it wasn't as good as it was when it was best in show just a couple of weeks ago. They'll be fine. Everything's fine. Wild R is fine.
Gopher Hoops, by the way, you mentioned it earlier, PA, on these airwaves, 6:30 p.m. pregame, 7 p.m. tip-off, Gophers and Oral Roberts and Parker Fox. You hear them Mondays on the Fan with 9 to noon. You also hear them, it's either Wednesdays or Thursdays. Maybe it's Thursdays with the Power Trip morning show. He rolls in as well. So he's keeping busy. But his A topic in life right now typically is the basketball team when the season's going on. So congratulations to them, and of course, good luck, I should say, to Ben Johnson's team, including Parker and everybody.
Yep.
And Dawson Garcia.
Always.
And good luck tonight with hopefully getting a W over Oral Roberts. Now, I saw this. Little NBA. This is kind of a sidebar LFL conversation, something you and I would talk about maybe off-air versus on-air. Mm-hmm. But you got Embiid, you got Maxey in Philly with the Sixers, and you bring in Paul George, and Paul George is just a bad injury or a nagging soft tissue-related bit waiting to happen these days. But I was kind of shocked for a team with some firepower. Your guy, Kelly Oubre, they're 1-5. And apparently it's getting so bad there. Joel Embiid has been suspended for 3 games after shoving Philly Inquirer columnist Marcus Hayes after Saturday's loss to the Memphis Grizzlies. Mm-hmm. Joe Dumars, the executive VP of basketball ops, said mutual respect is paramount to the relationship between players and media in the NBA. We get that. You don't shove members of the media. Don't shove fans. Don't shove media. That's typically, I'd say, standard etiquette. Is it a complete implosion situation with these Sixers? You've seen it the last couple of years, PA, where they're not getting to conference title games. You've watched them wilt in big moments in the playoffs. And now with an awful start, a more growingly and emergingly frustrated Joel Embiid, Paul George will not be the answer. I love Ty Maxey, but the process, whatever that was eventually going to culminate with, I don't think they're ever going to get there. And things are super ugly right now in Philly.
Yeah, I can't, 4, 5, 6 into it, I can't put an ever on anything. Embiid, I read the story when the whole thing popped, and it's you got to read the story to understand why he became as frustrated as he did with family members of his being thrown into a column. All right, now, it's not like the columnist, not like the scribe went after a family member, but Joel was frustrated that his family caught strays in a story that basically was accusing him of purposely not playing. I'm not a big fan of anybody unless they go with a source that has a name on it.
Well, admittedly, I didn't know. I hadn't. Well, then that's my bad. I didn't know that Marcus Hayes put that in the paper. He's using Well, that's. I mean.
Yeah, but I need to reread it because I'm 96.7% sure that I'm sharing it correctly, because Joel was like, basically paraphrasing, the next time you put the name of a family member in one of my columns, well, then I'm just going to have to deal with my life ending and being in jail or something like that. That's how mad he was.
Wow.
The shove, I mean, it wasn't, come on.
Yeah, I know.
It was just like, hey, but he put his hands on the guy, which you can't do. But so Joel can't do what he did. I didn't like the column. I wasn't familiar with the columnist. I went and read parts of like his last 5 columns. I don't think my man's very good.
Okay.
So I think, there are better columnists that I've read over my course of reading columns, but you could say the same thing about 9 to noon.
Well, now I'm on Embiid's side, and the team's off to a terrible start.
You got to read the story.
Well, if he's daggering, if the columnist is daggering family members, yes, you can't shove people. But the heck with that guy.
But see, that's the problem.
The
columnist did not dagger family members. He just put them in there by name.
Can you give me your credit card so I can sign up for the Philly Inquirer so I can read these?
And Joel took offense to that, but Joel's being overly defensive. He's one of these kids. He's one of these new agers who's like, I don't read anything. I don't listen or watch anything.
Yeah.
And they read, listen to, and watch everything.
Yeah.
So he's aggravated. They're aggravated. Maxey's had some big games without him. But they spent a lot of money on Paul George. So, to get Paul George there to go with Joel, who makes what he makes, and he ain't playing any games, they'll be fine. If Philly, when they get that, let's put it this way. By Thanksgiving,
okay,
I think whomever is like they're in trouble, they need to be dismantled or they're imploding. Let's look at it around Thanksgiving, maybe early December, and let's see where they stand at that point.
I'm saying it's over. I'll bet you a shirtless 40. Right. It's over for the Sixers after seeing 6 games.
Define over.
That they will not make the playoffs.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Shirtless 40? Are you in?
No, I ran the other one the other day. I'm really sorry that your camera ran out of battery and you weren't able to record.
And I appreciate you finally making good on that. Last thing I have for you is we head to break. I'm still trying to find updates on it, but you mentioned it earlier. Schefter reported Trevor Lawrence is in potential doubt for playing this weekend for the Jaguars. And it is indeed a shoulder issue, which is certainly problematic for a QB. C.J. Beathard would be the guy potentially if Trevor Lawrence isn't able to go. But I've been scouring and trying to find any statements from the coaches, as coaches typically talk to the media, as we know. Yep. Hopefully there's no shoving going on in Jacksonville. But no updates on that yet. But something to watch, PA, is Trevor Lawrence and his health status in the Sunday's game in Jacksonville.
Yeah, they're Shefty had something recently that might have included a Doug Peterson quote, because I do believe Peterson just spoke. And it basically was like, Trevor is going to be limited at practice. Yes, we made a move for a quarterback for the practice squad, but Shefty laid it out like his situation this weekend is tenuous. So that's really, I mean, that popped up out of nowhere. Holy cow. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, for a 2-7 team, well, then again, 2-7 team, C.J. Beathard against Brian Flores defense should be a cinch loss. Get us closer to a higher pick in the draft. Not that anybody would think or talk that way, at least overtly. But if I'm Lawrence, I want to play. If I'm Lawrence, I don't care if there's no Christian Kirk. I don't care what's happening there. I want to play, specifically in a home game. So my guess is he'll play this weekend, but we'll check that injury report specifically Thursday and Friday and see what up.
Man, the text. Okay, so apparently the family member he was talking about
there we go.
Is his dead brother.
Oh, jeez. That's what it was.
Now, frankly,
that's what it was. But Embiid was like,
but he should have done to him what he did to Cat on the court that required Jeff Teague to come in and assist.
No,
I mean, you can't put dead family members in a column.
But I'm pretty sure Embiid was like, if you ever mention a family member of mine or something like that again, then I'm just going to have to deal with what it's like to be in prison, because that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
It was something like that. It was a nasty situation. This I don't know. I mean, Mike Lupica, Scott Osler, Jim Murray, and Mike Royko, they're not blushing with this column writer we're talking about. But,
yeah, I'm not exactly honors at Northwestern in the journalism department,
right.
But
let's segue to Golden Gophers football. Bo Hunting-Burnsy, we believe, will be joining us shortly. He's with Gopher Illustrated. PJ's team has won 4 consecutive, and they hook Rutgers this weekend. That's around the corner at FM 100.3 KFAN.